I'm Ralph Weidner at BEULCO. I'm in charge of supply chain management, order management, and IT. BEULCO is a medium-sized family business. What do we do? Roughly or broadly speaking, we handle drinking water. We handle or we produce products and systems for drinking water supplies. We offer our clients services from backflow preventer testing and complete disinfection measures for building disinfection to the tracking and management of mobile drinking water stations through software solutions and cloud services. BEULCO has around 180 employees and generates a turnover of 42 million euros. An important project for us is digital intralogistics. Here we're talking about the entire process chain, from goods receipt to storage, to supplying the various assembly areas to container management, and finally, the shipping process. Container management in particular is a very important point for us. Through preliminary analysis, we found that our entire warehouse management and container organization no longer fit into this world. I'm Andres Hoyer. I've worked at the company since 2012, and I'm in charge of digitalization and process optimization. For us, effective container management is vital because the parts that we manufacture cannot be marked or labeled individually. We are always required to transport the parts to some kind of storage unit. That storage unit might be a small load carrier, or it might be a large load carrier, or a large pallet cage. We call all of those containers, and so based on the purpose, we then looked for the most effective way to get the right amount of materials to the customer at the right time. For instance, we used to work with very large containers in which large lot sizes were produced. That has now become outdated, and so we had to become more flexible. As a result, it wasn't long before we decided that we had to make our containers smaller and rebuild our entire warehouse structure. So we began doing that during our normal operations. It was a huge challenge to change our entire warehouse structure, dismantle storage areas, and build new shelving racks for small load carriers in order to store them. To meet assembly requirements, we can now provide exactly the right quantities required to assemble an order. In the past, that wasn't possible, as we would transport huge containers called large load carriers to the assembly area, which meant that the space required for assembly went through the roof. In the past, you would have seen walls of containers here. But if you look now, the assembly area looks neat and tidy. We pick the materials required for assembly from the high rack storage and assemble them here based on each order. We no longer have a return process, which was a key point for us to take the pressure off internal logistics. Another important aspect was that by using L-Mobile, we were then able to visualize the entire quantity flow in production and manufacturing. So, in the washing plant, we can transfer the parts that come from production into small load carriers and group them on the appropriate pallets. Each pallet then forms a transport unit which we can store again, together with the small load carriers in individual containers in the high rack storage. With this pallet and small load carrier approach, we can now see what is in the container and the quantity in the container at any time. By using L-Mobile, there have been changes in many areas. For example, our chippings in logistics. Previously, we were unable to visualize the quantity of chippings in the system. We couldn't log the quantity and could therefore only see estimated quantities. With L-Mobile, it's now possible to put the chippings in large bags and move them through the company as a transport unit. And finally, we can keep our inventory a lot more organized and precise. Without L-Mobile, we wouldn't have these key postings which enable us to track each container in the system transparently. So we can say, okay, in this container there's this amount, in this container there's this item. We couldn't have done that before because it wasn't possible to make these postings manually. we have managed to create a framework to tackle the next digitalization projects. For example, the next step will be to visualize which storage bins are free in the high-rack warehouse. Another important point is that we have found a partner in L-Mobile, and we are sure that we will be able to overcome these future challenges together.